Hello again. So this is going to be the second part for lists, and we're going to just run through some more simple stuff at first and maybe tweak it up a little bit at the end. I may cut this one short because I'm trying something new with Camtasia, but we'll see. Let's give it a roll and see where we're at. If, hopefully you've saved your file, or maybe you haven't even closed out of your file and you're ready to go. This is everything that we did last time. Go ahead and copy or write this down. Obviously, it's not a lot if you haven't saved your file. Just make sure in the future, whenever we do anything in Python, I want you to save it, just so that we always have that ability to add to a former file, maybe make it a little nicer and tweak it. And before we get into it, though, let's go ahead and go back to our text file here. So we are going to operate on this, and I'm going to show you a few operators. I think these are all from the book, so feel free to look at it. But again, just like that -1 we used last time, we're going to try to keep a toolbox of what we can do with these lists. Now, there's some things you can do with arrays that you can't do with lists, and there's some things you can do with lists that you can't do with arrays. And today, most of these you can't do with arrays, and that's why a lot of people prefer lists. Lists tend to be a little less efficient than arrays, so that means they're going to gobble up a little bit more time in even memory sometimes. But most people would agree that it's relatively negligible. So for a regular old program, you should be fine. You know, if you're going to take Python and put it on the web, or it's just like a little simple app or something, and don't worry about it. You'll be fine. All right, let's just jump into this right away. And most of these are going to have what I'm going to call this period format. So if I were to say DVD append equals, we're going to say add to last. And my hand just slipped off the keyboard. One space over to last. So what I mean by this period is that you have to tell it, in most of these cases, that what are you going to be operating on. So a list has a set of properties that you can add on to, meaning, it has spaces, right? So you put a period, and append just means add. And in normal English vernacular, that is what it means. Add, and then if you need a little hint on where it's going to add, it's going to put it to the end. So if I were to do this, and actually why don't we go ahead and do this one. If I were to say DVD dot, remember it's got to be period, append, and look at that, nice, I can just tab into it because it's the first one on my list, and I am going to say, what should I add? I had Avengers. Let's add something cool. I can't think of a good one. Maybe just more of a normal one. Well, actually, we don't have Terror on here, so let's put a classic Terror on here. We'll just say The Exorcist. Yay. And that is going to end it to put it on the end. So in other words, remember when we use this print, I'm going to just do a cut here. So Control X. And I'm going to add here, but I'm going to put -1. Before -1 meant Avengers 2, but now that I've appended, it should say The Exorcist, right? Because I put it on the end, and sure enough, there it is. That has now been added to the list at the end of our piece. Okay, so let's go and take a look at some of these other ones. So you can do, let's say you don't want to do it. So I'm going to do a little bit of shorthand notation and just say insert. And I'll put 0, come on. I'm going to say, well, this is a notation I tend to use. I don't know if this is what everyone hears. So I'm going to call this the index number. And then I'm going to put the new value. And go ahead and put a parentheses. So when I use these greater than, less than symbols, really what that means is come out of your formatting and just look at this word for what it is. So index number means what number do you put in here. New value is the actual, let's say, new, what's the word I'm looking for? Is the actual, well, in our case, it's the new DVD format. So, there we go. So, yeah. So actually, well, how about this? Why don't we go ahead and copy this? I'm going to put it in here and put it in there. And I'm going to just actually take the .1 out just to show you the whole list. So now I'm going to do a DVD insert. So that's what I meant by this is the notation, is I just don't want to have to type in DVD each time, because ultimately you're not going to call every list a DVD. And then insert, I'm going to replace with, well, let's put it on the first one. So in other words, it's going to go to skip over Citizen Kane and put it right here. And then it's going to push Office Space and Avengers to the right, and The Exorcist for that matter. And so the new value is, all right, let's pick more of a drama this time. So pick Titanic. And when I print DVD, let's go ahead and do that. Notice where it does this. It puts it right where we have it. So it goes to index 1, pushes Office Space to 2, pushes Avengers to 3, and puts The Exorcist in 4. And we know it works. So let's just say this then. It inserts at index and pushes all other pieces, or I'm going to say elements, list over 1. And by 1 I mean 1 positive. So if in this case Office Space was in 1, now it's in 2. Okay, let's keep going. I think we have dot pop, and I'm going to put parentheses. And this, what this will do is removes the last but keeps it available. So in other words, in our case, The Exorcist is now last. If I hit dot pop, it's going to remove it, and then but it keeps it available in terms of you can actually use it still. You know, it keeps it kind of like in a temporary memory. You know, if you think about your calculators, there's always that. In fact, let's see if we can pull our calc up. Oops, I hit the wrong button. Pull our calculator up. It has this MR, MC, MS, that's memory, so you can keep one value in there. But it's only temporary. It's going to go away as soon as you pop something else off. So, you know, you can use that value. Sometimes that's convenient if, you know, you're removing somebody from a list and then you want to print out the dot pop. So that would work. Let's see what else we have. If you want to just flat out remove it, guess what? You just type remove. And that will remove it anywhere on the list. So in this case, what you're doing is you're doing a value here. Oops. So like in this case, I could do a remove. In fact, you might want to give this a try, and I'll say remove and then put Avengers 2 in the list, and it'll go through the list and actually remove all the Avengers 2 from the list. It'll just take it, suck them out, throw them away. So you don't have to necessarily do that. But you say, well, but what happens if I don't want to do it based on value? What happens if I want to do it based on position or index number? Well, they have something called delete DVD. This is one of the weird things because it doesn't have a dot. It's not DVD.del. You have to do it in this direction. So, and then give the position. So, in this case, I'm going to write number or index just to keep our language similar. And that essentially says that removes at index, and I'm going to say slides down. I know that's not exactly perfect computer science language, but remember how when we push something in between Citizen K and Office Space, it moved Office Space and all the DVD names to the right. Now this is going to move it all to the left, so everybody's going to get subtracted one on their index who come after this space or index where we're deleting it from. Let's just give that a quick look. So remember, let's run it real quick. So we have Titanic in the one spot, right? So just let's say, well, now let's get rid of that in the one spot. Delete DVD, and then 1, and then we're going to do another print DVD to show that we've actually removed what we've just taken out. So in that case, it's kind of like the inverse of the insert, if you want to think of it that way. And there we go. So it throws Titanic in, then it takes Titanic out, and sure enough, everything goes. And in fact, if you could say print DVD, say 1, and go ahead, and there you go. It will say it's Office Space. Now, remember what's happening here. The Titanic is there before when we've just inserted Titanic. The Office Space is getting rid of it after we've deleted it. So go ahead and play with those for a little bit. Maybe just create a fun list for yourself to practice, get some use, and then come back and we'll talk some more.